Year 2 leaps for your Jacksonville Jaguar sophomores. Let's get it. Now, before we get into this video, huge shout out to this video sponsor, BetUS. Guys, we have less than a week to be able to put in different season-long bets that you guys may like. Whether you want to put some money down on the Jaguars win total, which is at 9.5 right now, division winners, different player props, like how many touchdowns is Trevor Lawrence going to throw for, all the way up to whether or not the Jaguars win the Super Bowl. Look, all of that stuff closes at the opening Thursday of the NFL season. So if you guys are interested in all that, go to BetUS. Use my description box down below. It's going to 125% your deposit. So if you put down 100, they'll put $225 down into your account. And then after that, we're going to go into week-to-week spreads. Week 1, we're going to start with the Indianapolis Colts all the way to the Chiefs, all the way through the end of the season. Lots of fun we can have over on that site. So go over there, check them out. Thanks to BetUS for sponsoring this video. Now let's get on to the contents. Now in the NFL, usually in year 1 when you draft somebody, they almost get a little bit of a pass. You look at every situation and look, they just got done playing college football. Then they go prepare for the draft and they're learning how to sprint as fast as they can to doing like 3-cone drills. Then they get to the team and they learn a brand new offense or defense. And then before you know it, the season starts. And it's like, okay, am I ready for this? I don't know. A lot of times they're thrusted into starting lineups because, look, they're probably one of the best 22 players on the field. And, they probably play a little bit early, and then sometimes players struggle. And that kind of is what happened with some of our guys. And, we're going to kind of talk about it. And I want to focus on the 2022 draft when it comes to like the first 2 days. That's going to be Trayvon Walker, Devin Lloyd, Luke Fortner, and Chad Muma. I want to focus on those guys because day 3 is generally special teamers, and I'm not really sure what to expect out of some of the day 3 guys. Now, this year, the Jaguars went all offense in the 2023 NFL draft. They go from right tackle to tight end to running back on the first 2 days. Last year was completely different. The Jaguars went all defense, actually mostly defense because they did get a center, but they focused on pass rush, then 2 linebackers, then Luke Fortner at center. So it was definitely different. Now, a big difference is that last year the Jaguars finished with the worst record in the NFL, which gave them the number 1 overall pick. And the Jaguars used that to draft outside linebacker Trayvon Walker. Now, that was definitely a controversial pick because he wasn't known in the NFL in that draft class as the best pass rusher. Aiden Hutchinson was kind of the guy. If you wanted a pass rusher, you're going to get him because he is the most developed and he is the most, the least raw. And he'll probably be out there year 1 doing the most, getting the most sacks. And he did do that. Now, the Jaguars, instead of doing that, they went for traits and potential because there's different things like with Aiden Hutchinson. The big thing about him was that his arms apparently weren't long enough. And Trayvon Walker has big clubs for arms. So, they looked at that and they said, look, if both these players develop into their full potential, Trayvon Walker is going to be a lot better just because he has a lot more strength and he has all the different traits that you want in, a pass rusher. Now, last year, Trayvon Walker, he played 15 games, got 3.5 sacks, and he had 10 quarterback hits. And, when we look at that, we just say, look, that's not good enough. You were the number 1 player drafted. The Jaguars drafted him saying you're going to be better than every single other player in this draft. That's why we're taking you right here. And, you compare that to his counterpart with Aiden Hutchinson, and Aiden Hutchinson had 9.5 sacks in year 1. And look, a lot of people did see this coming. He was told that, look, he's not going to be great his first year. And that was true. He wasn't really great. He didn't have the pass rushing moves, which is what he needs to develop. Look, he was a lot of guys that come out and they're big and strong. They can bull rush. I mean, bull rush doesn't really require a lot. It just requires you to just use a lot of strength to push them back. But, you need to see Trayvon Walker do a better job about using his hands, using his arms, doing, working a little better on stunts and just doing all the different moves that you want out of a truly well-defined pass rusher. So the offensive tackle really doesn't know, what's coming. And we didn't see a lot of it in preseason just because It's hard because a lot of these coaches, they don't really want their quarterbacks getting hit, so they basically design plays so the quarterback's getting rid of the ball really quick. I mean, we saw that at Tua. We saw that week one. It's just they don't really give them a lot of time for any kind of pass rush to really develop. So we're gonna have to wait on that a little bit. We're hoping week one with Anthony Richardson, maybe he's confused by the defense and we can get some sacks on him. We'll see about that. But look, this offseason, he got really strong. He's in like really, really good shape right now. So really what with him, we're just waiting on, look, what did you do in the offseason? Do you have these pass rushing moves? He was pretty good at stopping the run, but you don't draft a player number one overall to stop the run. Okay. You're drafting a player number one overall to go above and beyond and to be able to get after the quarterback on third downs, let the ball get into Trevor Lawrence's hands. And then from there, that's how we're going to win games. Okay. Dominate time of possession, get your sacks, get your strip sacks and all that stuff. And another thing he needs to work on is last year he got more than a couple of kind of dumb personal foul calls. There were times where he would get frustrated, maybe hit the quarterback a little bit late. And I remember in a Houston game in week 5 or something, that while the offense not being able to move the ball, that's ultimately, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, that pretty much is what lost us the game. But, Trayvon Walker had a play where threw the quarterback down when he shouldn't have, and then extended the drive. I think that was on third down, and then the Texans went down and scored, and then the Jaguars lost that game. So, hopefully he can develop a little bit mentally where we're not running into those kind of issues with him. So, yeah, with Trayvon Walker, big time wait and see. I'm really hoping he does great. Going back, I still probably would have gotten Aiden Hutchinson, but I want to be wrong about that because I want Trayvon Walker to be a complete beast because that's going to make the Jaguars good. Next up is Devin Lloyd. Now, the Jaguars traded up in the first round to get Devin Lloyd. And look, last year, if we're being honest, Devin Lloyd really struggled. And a big factor was before training camp, he did suffer a hamstring injury and he missed most of training camp. We didn't see him in action until the final preseason game against the Falcons. And like last year, he started off pretty good. Like he got, I think, a couple of interceptions and it's like, oh man, this guy's pretty good. And then, like with a lot of rookies or new teams, after more film was out there, you figure out how to attack him. And once Devin Lloyd started getting attacked in space, it wasn't very good. He was getting picked on, and at one point he was even benched. And at one point it was really weird because he's a guy that's really passionate about football, but at some point, like, I don't know, it's like he wasn't trying. He was kind of like giving half efforts, which was, very strange. But all the word out there is that he's been looking really good this offseason. And look, he's getting better. He's learning the defense. And, I could see the Jaguars being a little more versatile with him. Like, the Jaguars kind of need some pass rush, maybe on some obvious pass rush situations. He can go in there and rush the passer. And outside of that, like, just learn the defense. I know Mike Caldwell has a pretty complicated defense, but the defense can really allow linebackers to shine. So when he plays better, Foye Oluwakin's going to play better, and then the whole team is just going to be better. Like right now, the Jaguars defense, we're relatively young, but we're not like, it's not like we have a bunch of rookies out there. We have now multiple years. When you combine everybody, a lot of starts and a lot of years of experience. We're not trotting out a bunch of rookies this year to start. So, and now a bunch of the second year players from last year, Tyson Campbell, Andre Cisco, all those guys are going into year 2. So it should only get, or year 3, I should say. It should only get better from there once everybody around them plays better. Now, next up is Luke Fortner. Now, the first thing that I really liked about Luke Fortner is that he stayed very healthy last year. And look, he started every single game for the Jaguars last year. I think he was actually the first Jaguar to ever start as a rookie at center in week 1, which is pretty cool. Now, this really goes back to him at Kentucky. And Kentucky started 36 consecutive games. And a lot of times when you look at offensive linemen, it's like you either have offensive linemen that stay healthy all the time and just are really good and are always available, or it's the other side of things where you're kind of notorious for being injured a bunch. If we just go back into the Jaguars' 2 most recent centers, I mean, Brad Meester was an absolute beast. 209 games started. He even had 92 consecutive starts at one point. But the guy that replaced him, Brandon Linder was always hurt. I mean, it would be like a knee injury here, foot injury there. He would, in a 16-game season, he would play like 10 games or something. He just wasn't fully available. And you want that with your center. The quarterback and center does have a legit, relationship. They're getting up at the line of scrimmage, they're calling protections, and it's a real thing. Like, you need and you want your center to be there. It's arguably the second most important position on the offensive line behind protecting the quarterback's blind side. So the biggest thing that he needed to work on was finishing blocks. Last year there were times where he wasn't blocking until the whistle blew. He was letting up a little bit early, and sometimes it would stop the run play from being great. And that's a mental thing. Get over that. And the next one is strength. Look, he needed to build on his strength from last year, but all accounts is that he's gotten a lot stronger. And look, these are two things that it's one thing if like a player doesn't have good footwork, because footworks and mechanics are something that is a little bit hard to develop, and it's a little bit hard to say, oh, his mechanic. We see that with quarterbacks. Like, sometimes if you just don't have good footwork, you just can't really develop it very well. But he has that. It's just all mental. Finish your blocks, and look, just get stronger. Look, getting stronger, all that entails is getting in the weight room, lifting some weights, eating right, and a lot of times strength, it just takes time to build. So we're hoping that comes together. So we're really hoping that Luke Fortner and Trevor Lawrence can become the next Jeff Saturday and Peyton Manning. That's what we're all hoping for. So last up is Chad Muma. I don't want to talk too much about him. Like, we drafted him in the 3rd round, and I'll be honest with you, it was a weird pick at the time, and it's still kind of a weird pick. Chad Muma, it's nothing against him as a player. He's a fine player. A lot of people really liked him, but the Jaguars just signed Foye Oluokun to a big deal. Then they traded up to draft Devin Lloyd in the 1st round. Then you draft another linebacker. In today's NFL, you're in nickel most of the time. So in base defense, Chad Muma will be out there for about 25% of the plays. It's just, and maybe now as Mike Caldwell learns his personnel, maybe there's different packages that call for him to be on the field. But it just seemed like really the positional value wasn't there. It's already kind of controversial to take like an inside linebacker in the 1st round, but then you're going to double down on day 2, and take another one. You got to think Jaguars maybe could have taken a cornerback that could really help us this year, maybe taken another offensive lineman to help with the depth. You always need defensive linemen too, but we had Chad Muma. So like I said, weird pick. He's a great backup. When he replaces somebody, he's great to have in base personnel, but still just a little bit strange. But Balky's been known to kind of, zig when other people are expecting him to zag. So with all that said, that's really all I got for this one. Really appreciate all you guys for watching. We are ramping up toward the NFL season. Really can't wait. Thank you guys. Drop a like for me on your way out. Go Jags.